Today I'm going to show you step by step of how I painted this using oil paints, palette knives and brushes. So I'm working on a 10" by 10" wood panel, MDF wood panel, and here's the reference photo, a beautiful little sunrise taken in the UK and sent to me from a friend. Colours are titanium white, cadmium yellow deep, cadmium red, sap green today, cerulean blue, ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, and my medium is Gamblin solvent-free gel. So I'm just starting up by mixing a bit of that colour from the sky using a tiny little palette knife. And I'm keeping it really simple. I love that cerulean blue. It gives a really sort of bright, punchy blue colour. As opposed to ultramarine blue, which I like too. But this one just gives it a little bit more vibrant and more sort of saturation colour within the sky for this painting today. So the painting surface is MDF wood panel, and I've coated it with acrylic primer from Michael Harding. It's a non-absorbent acrylic primer, and I absolutely love it. I'll leave a link in the description below in the supplies link. Get yourself some of that. It's amazing. Brushes I'm using are from Rosemary & Co, and this is a size 10 ivory flat. I'll also leave a link in the description below. So, simple blocking. I'm not relying too much on the reference photo. However, I do like a lot of colours in the reference photo, so I'm going to play around with my warm and cool colours, and I'll also be working with a palette knife later on. And yeah, this took me about 38 minutes to paint, and I had a nice time painting it. A really relaxing, calm painting, keeping things really simple. So I'm using the reference photo just to sort of hold my hand a little bit. I'm not going for realism here. I'm going for something like impressionistic, abstract, and trying to say a lot with as little as possible. I'm going to sort of talk about my sort of techniques today, and when it comes to brushwork and also palette knife, and just, you know, I took my time on this piece. So I got the same mix there. I just added, I think, a bit of ultramarine blue in that, and a bit more white. And I'm gonna kind of like add a very soft, sort of subtle gradation. Nothing too complex in the sky. I really like playing with space these days. Not space with the planets. I mean, letting the paintings breathe, I guess. Really like that modern minimal look in some parts of the paintings that I make. Yeah, and this painting turned out to be really sort of calm looking. A really nice balance of warm and cool colours, and a lot of what's the word? What was I going to say? A lot of like playing with brush sort of textures, hard edges, soft edges, which I'm going to try and talk about. This is a freestyle voiceover again, so I will be tripping over my words, but it's okay. I've had 3 cups of tea today, so I shouldn't do too bad. So again, just with the same mix here, I'm adding an almost white mix because that's what I saw in the reference photo, and I kind of like that. And just adding a touch of yellow, really. A tiny bit of green came out, but that's fine. There is green in the sky. I've seen green skies, but it's fine because blue and yellow will make green. But a little bit of, I say, dirty green is absolutely fine. So yeah, again, just playing with pressure here. Really, I think the paint is slightly thicker here, and I'm just really blending it into the blue there, and leaving a little bit of brush marks. It's always interesting to have, you know, not to blend everything out. If you can get that balance between blending some parts of your painting and leaving brush strokes, I think it does make for an interesting piece, rather than just blending everything out. It gives a bit of depth to the painting as well, and it just makes it look more like an impressionistic, interesting painting in my opinion. So, nothing too difficult at the moment. Now, I'm going to mix up... I'm going to play with the warm colours now. So I've got the both yellows there. That cadmium yellow deep looks like orange, but it's not. I'm just playing now. I'm just trying to find some colours for the warmth now. A lot of colours were shown in this reference photo, and as you probably know, that I'm not going to be painting exactly the same colours. I like my tones to be pretty exact when it comes to reference photos in general, but colours I can adjust them. But there's a lot of warm colours in this, and I'm not saying warm colours just orange and yellow. There were actually reds and pinks in this part of the sky here. So I've got I think it's a number 2 brush there. Same style. It's the ivory flat, and I'm just starting by indicating and adjusting and just laying in some brush marks really. I'm trying to lay down brush mark and then leave it and then move on. So I'm just adjusting it slightly with a bit of white there and just placing it and seeing what I can do with it, because I can move things around later, and it's always nice to have variation. So you can, I mean, I've got a fair few colours there, but it's not the most colours that people will sort of use when it comes to painting. Obviously, it's not a limited palette. It's something in between. I think I can get a lot of colours with what I have on the palette without, going overboard and getting confused. And okay, I've got a sap green there, which you'll see me use later. I haven't used a sap green for a while, but I don't think I used it really that much. But we'll see. But yeah, I think tone is important, and color complements. For example, this painting has a nice balance of warm and cool colors. Complementary color to orange is blue. I just think it made for a really interesting painting. It was such a simple picture to work on too. So here I'm adjusting the mix slightly with red and white, and I'm blending it in slightly. So I'm just finding my way still, and trying to get a lot of interest in that same mix, and keeping some interesting brush marks. And I'm also stepping back from the painting as well, which you don't see obviously because I'm behind the camera. And these brushes are really good for getting those straight, flat, kind of harsh lines as well as soft lines. It's so versatile in my works, and the surface, as I said, is non-absorbent, which means that all this work kind of like jumps out at you, doesn't sort of get absorbed into the surface like some gesso surfaces that I've used in the past. So I noticed that it went a bit sort of pinky purple above the orangey warm color, and yeah, okay, as I said, I'm going for something similar to the reference photo. I'm not trying to find the exact colors. It's the tonal dynamic that I'm going for when I paint, and the impression, and brush marks are essential, and palette knife of course. So but I wanted to try and adhere a little bit to the reference photo, so I noticed those little pinky purple colours, which I really liked, which sort of was shown more away from the sun sunrise. So that sunrise, you'll see me fill in that little hole later with something a little bit more vibrant. And also here, the paint's a bit thin as well, because I'm going to blend and adjust it slightly, which you'll see me do in a second. So what am I doing here? Ultramarine, no, sap green, sorry. Is that sap green? No, that was ultramarine blue, I think, with cadmium red and a touch of white. I'm going to find some clouds now. So I think as soon as I laid this down, it was a bit too dark for my liking. So I'm just going to add a bit more white into that. I cleaned this brush before I think it's the same brush that I used with the warm orangey sunset colour. So I just nipped to the bathroom and cleaned that brush with water mixed with oil paints. Amazing. And I'm just playing now a little bit of random colours in there, just adjusting it slightly, just to keep it warm still. I don't want to be like so cold with the purple on the blue side, so I just warmed it up a bit, I think with some cadmium red. But yeah, I washed the brush and dried it thoroughly, and I'm just starting to indicate some purple clouds. Okay, go a bit lighter there. Same mix, just a lighter value. I saw that it got a bit lighter towards the outside of that purple mix, and blended in a little bit with that orangey colour. And again, a bit lighter on the outside again, blending a little bit. And just sort of still finding my way a little bit. And you're going to see me blend some areas and have some areas really sort of show in, areas knocked back with blending with my finger, with the brush, and so on. Okay, so same sort of mix there, which I'm going to just indicate a few clouds in the distance there in the at the top, and I'm going to knock this back later on slightly, just to so it sort of appears further away. So cleaning my fingers when I do that, before and after, and just again creating a bit of slightly mucky colour now, which I saw in the reference photo, which I liked. So again, the brushes were kept really clean in between this, but it's fine to, I mean, for skies, there's a lot of warm and cool colours that are kind of mixed together, which I noticed in this reference photo, which I really liked, and it's fine to have that in some areas. A bit of muckiness, if it's clean muckiness, if that makes sense. Probably doesn't make sense, but also with the application of paint, so some areas are thicker, like I think there, for example, I added a lot of white into that mucky mix, and I just sort of blended it out so it didn't get so muddy. If you've got two areas of paint which are the same consistency, that could be a problem, and it might get a bit too mucky, so it could be worth your while working a thin paint first and adding thick paint over the top, so it doesn't sort of interrupts the paint that's on the panel so much. It's weird to explain. It's easier to try and actually paint and see, you know, try things out for yourself. So here I'm just knocking back those clouds with my finger. Just to give it a little bit more depth and a little bit of blending here and there. And yeah, clouds are amazing. I mean, you don't want to try and create repetition, like having the same patterns. You want to try and keep it kind of diverse and keep the clouds a bit different. So I just put a little bit of white there into I'm jumping around really fast here now, which I really enjoyed doing, and just blending out slightly, and pressure as well, so light blending and kind of more harsh blending in some areas with that same brush. I think it's either a 2 or a 4. I have in this painting I used a size 10, size 4 and a size 2. So just picking out a little bit of highlight there. That sort of cuts nicely through the purple clouds there. And again, this is where I felt a bit more sort of confident now, and you know, moving that paint around, testing out the pressure of what I can do, and just to try and add a bit more drama to this part, because I felt like I was getting a bit sort of too, not tight, but I was sort of taking my time. I was feeling good today with this painting, but I wanted to be a bit more looser in there, that area, so I just went for it really. And yeah, I'm happy with this painting. When you're working at alla prima, it is does require a bit of thought and planning, of course. And I've been looking at this reference photo, for about a week, just sort of studying it and seeing what I can do and where I can push things. Here is the distance. I think it's the distant mountains, or whatever's going on in the distance there. I mean, it's kept really cool, and just being a bit careful here because I want some lines to be quite sharp. And I added a bit of warmth there, if you can see, underneath the sun, so a bit of red in that mix, and that will create a nice warm afternoon glow with that sunset, sorry. So the slightly lighter mix, I'm just softening a little bit of that area, and I'm just going to push it now to a bit darker, I think. So with a bit of ultramarine blue and burnt sienna in the same mix, we can now create something in the landscape that's closer to us. And I'm trying to, yeah, what I mentioned earlier about alla prima, I'm trying to paint and then leave it and then move on. It's okay to put paint down and move things around, but I mean, it kind of depends, you know. I mean, I just want to, my aim is to kind of just put it down and leave it, and not fiddle with it too much. That's the road to overworking, and that can get really difficult. And so if you've got a plan, just, you know, just to try and do as much as I can with it, as little as I can, if that makes sense. Okay, so I'm mixing in the same mix there. I've got ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, and that sap green now comes into play. I want this to be the darkest part now, so a bit of contrast here, and I added a little bit of yellow there because we've got trees and bushes to paint now with the palette knife, or just to indicate with the palette knife. So I don't want it so dark. It is fairly dark here. I want a bit of contrast in this piece. But yeah, I've got my medium-sized palette knife there, and I'm just going to begin by indicating a line, really, and some bits and bobs that will show with the palette knife here. And I'm going for shapes. I mean, I'm not painting trees, I'm not painting bushes. It's that fine line between abstraction and I say realism, something that looks fairly realistic, but done in such a way that, you know, it's just simpler, and just try and simplify things, and just keeping abstraction there, impressionism there, and just saying a lot by doing so little. It's not me being lazy, it's just a fun way to approach paintings. Like here I've got my my baby palette knife there, and I just adore him so much. I mean, I love all my palette knives, but I'm able to get more precision here, and a bit more control here, and the paint is fairly thick, and I'll be bouncing around with brushes as well, and all sorts, but you're going to see me scrape away a little bit more of this these trees and bushes, and just to reveal some highlights, and just an amazing tool just to create some abstraction and amazing effects. I do need to find something to hold my panel on though, because it keeps falling off. It keeps moving. Okay, so what am I doing here? I picked up a yellow, and I don't know why. I think I'm going to go for the sun now. So I bounce around a bit. I wanted to do the sun first, because I'm going to put the palette, the surface, kind of, it's going to be tucked in my easel there. So I want to do the sun first before I do the grass at the bottom. So a bit more titanium white. So I literally want this to be thick, almost white, and on the warm side, obviously, being the sun. Just cadmium yellow light and a touch of titanium white, and a really steady hand. You'll see the steady hand part now in a second. Okay, so I'm just holding my breath a little bit and trying to hold my hands together, and just trying to lay that in. Yeah, I would have loved to have done that in one go, but it took me a couple of goes, and I'm really like specific in how I want the orangey part around this part here to be, and you'll see me play after I've well, in a minute, and it's really funny, I think. Like, I'm really specific. Really, I could have worked on that part for ages, but I know that's the road to overworking things, and I didn't want to overwork. I don't want to overwork any of my paintings. This is just capturing the moment in about 45 minutes. I mean, it took me 38 minutes, but yeah. So here, for example, so I'm really weird in this part because I want to soften areas. I want vibrancy in some areas. I want the middle part of the sun to really sort of show, but I want some texture as well. I want everything. I'm a bit greedy, I know. It's weird, but you'll see me come back to that, I think, in a minute. So I think this is number 2 brush here. So I want a little bit of that almost yellow glow, and I want some blended areas. I think it's personal preference, really. I mean, that's the amazing thing. Like, I'm looking at the reference photo, but I'm making changes. I think it comes from my days as being I was an illustrator for many years, by the way, if you didn't know. So I used to use a lot of reference photos, but then I used to really change it up. And my style 10 years ago, you wouldn't recognize it. It was so like comic and watercolors and quirky styles, and but I used a lot of reference photos, but they were there to kind of hold my hand, just to give me an idea of what to draw and paint, but they look totally different. So I think my way of thinking comes from my illustration days. But anyway, that's for another time, another story. Got my medium-sized palette knife just to cut in some highlights with that warm. So it's nice having that those yellow warm highlights that cut through the complementary colour of yellow, which is purple. And in some other areas, really. This just gives it an amazing effect, this sort of broken up abstraction, modern fresh kind of effect and style, which I just love so much. Like, I adore it, and I like the little bit of contrast that I have with the trees on the left there. The paint was obviously thicker. Oh yeah, here's me now being a bit meticulous here with the sun. It's a personal preference, but my goodness, you can really play with texture here and blends and color variations. Look at that. I mean, I just want a little bit of thick cadmium yellow lights, and I think I got a bit of deep there. No, it's cadmium yellow light still. Just to add another layer, another dimension into that warmth, which is, look, and you don't have to blend everything. Like you blend a little bit, and then you got thick paint, and you want brush strokes. You want a crazy combination of brush strokes, blending, and everything, and it just really makes for an interesting piece, in my opinion. I just absolutely love it. Like, that was cadmium yellow deep there, straight out of the tube, thick paint. And it just sits nicely on top of what I've got there, and just softening a little bit of areas there. That's the beauty of it. I love painting sunrise and sunsets, because you can really, I mean, push those like details, but not with adding too much detail. It's just with colour and tone, mainly tone. I love. Yeah, so I've got a bit of pink there. I can add a bit of pink in some areas. I mean, and I could have added like random pinks in the sky, mixing with that blue, but I wanted that blue at the top there to kind of be left alone. Like, as I said earlier, I'm really enjoying playing with space at the moment, letting certain areas of the painting breathe, if that makes sense. So just indicating a few bits of colour here and there. And I think this is my small brush. This is the size 2 ivory flats. And just softening some areas. But yeah, I loved this. I mean, the only thing I could think of if I wanted to continue this painting was just because I was enjoying it so much. But you know, you got to know when to stop, in my opinion. I mean, this is an alla prima painting, wet into wet, and it's just capturing the moment with a few techniques, a few tools, a few colours, and knowing when to stop. So I'm just scratching in there, as you can see in the distance there, just some areas of highlights, really. I mean, they could be houses, they could be buildings, lights, whatever, but it just gives a bit more interest. Okay, so I think I picked up a yellow there. So again, I'm being back into the yellow there, straight yellow out of the tube, and I want those brush strokes to show and sit proudly on top of the orange sky there, and then blend a little bit here and there. So I've just realised I've been rambling on. I should probably mention that I do have Patreon, so if you're looking for exclusive content, early ad-free access to painting tutorials, downloadable resources like reference photos and finished artworks, behind the scenes, exclusive community access, light feedback on your paintings coming soon, your name in the credits of my YouTube videos, voting power, and other things really. I mean, if you're interested in that sort of thing, then be sure to check out my link below in the description, and I hope to see you there. Here is the vibrant green. What really drew my attention to this reference photo is the vibrancy of this green. I absolutely loved it, and this is just a mix of cadmium yellow light and cerulean blue. And I want this to be really kind of dominant. I always like a lot of texture in the foregrounds of my paintings because it's closer and it's paint straight out of the tube. I think I put a little bit of that solvent-free gel in just to help it flow, but it's just like thick paint, really fresh and clean and minimal. And I don't think I overmixed the painting. I left a bit of that yellow showing. You know, sometimes I like to not mix my paint piles up all the time, just to leave some variation and some interest. But yeah, look at that, a lot of paint. This will take ages to dry, especially now that it's December and it's freezing outside. But even when the heating's on, it takes ages to dry. Anyway, it's weird. But yeah, I got a bit of that solvent-free gel there just to help the paint flow a little bit more. But yeah, look at that, caked on, and it's just so much fun. It's like, I can't bake cakes, but it feels like I'm baking a cake or just spreading, like, it looks like avocado actually. Spreading avocado on my toast, but yeah, love it. And I can cut into this paint later, add a bit of variation and other elements of abstraction madness, and then also it's easier for me to sign the painting too. Yeah, just adding a little bit of bit more yellow just for some variation. You can add a little bit of, you know, pink and oranges and such, and just play with the just playing with the application of how I'm pushing down. But yeah, so much fun. It's like being a sculpture. I mean, I'm literally creating 3D artwork here. It's amazing. This just gives your painting more dynamic, makes them more dynamic, and having thick areas, thin areas, and nothing's watered down with mineral spirits, terps. You know, nothing's watered down at all. It's just, if I'm working thin areas and I'm really pushing into the surface, especially my dark areas. Okay, those dark trees aren't usually thick, but I mean the shadow areas could be thin, and some areas thin. It doesn't have to be shadows only. I mean, I for sure, I definitely want my highlights to be as thick as possible, but playing with, yeah, thick and thin areas in your paintings really does, my opinion, make for an interesting piece. So here I've got my number 2, same mix, and just indicating a little bit more of what's going on in the backgrounds. But yeah, I love that vibrancy of the green. That's all, obviously that was created from the amazing sunrise. It was such a smashing, an amazing smashing green colour to have in a painting. I haven't used that green before. And that's done by, I'll just remind you, that's done by simple mix of cadmium yellow and cerulean blue. So here I'm just adding in some kind of trees, leaves I guess, that are sitting off the tree. And just adding in some scratchy marks really, here and there. And cleaning the palette knife as well, like now. And then, yeah, a few more bits and bobs in the background there. And, you know, this was this is just me finishing off some kind of last minute touch-ups without going too far, of course. Don't want to go too overboard. Even with the final touch-ups, like, that could lead to overworking, in my opinion. I love these scratchy marks that you can do with palette knives. Scratch into the paint, reveal some highlights, scratch away, move away paint. I just love it so much. And also I sign my painting as well on the bottom right with a toothpick, and it sort of looks part of the painting. It doesn't look weird, because I used to hate signing my work with a tiny little brush. I hated it. So this works for me really nicely. So I'm back to my sun. I can't get away from that. Yeah, I'm really weird at this part, because I guess it's a focal point. I mean, yeah, it should be. I guess it is. And okay, I think I left it there, and the panel nearly fell off and ruined everything. But yeah, just a few more marks here and there, and I absolutely loved painting this. Like, I think I got a bit of pink there just to cut through and show a little bit on the reds, on the green, on the grass, sorry. But yeah, what a pleasure. And I think I'm going back into the sun now. Oh no, okay. A little bit of pink, just a little bit more pink underneath the sun. Wow, it's been over half an hour, and if you've made it this far, then I really appreciate your company. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I hope I've given you a little bit of value, and I hope you've enjoyed a little bit of how I paint. If you're not subscribed to the channel, then please do so. It does really help out the channel, and your support does mean the world to me. I absolutely love making these free tutorials. So yeah, make sure you're subscribed and you've hit the notification bell. Perhaps leave me a comment or even share the video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care for now.